Hello guys, and welcome to the vlog. Hope you're having a great day. This is our fourth and final video from Nome, Alaska, and it's also gonna be my favorite because we're sharing stories from the people about life on the edge of the earth, how they got to Alaska and Nome, and their vision for the future. Last video left off, Rebecca was harassing me while I was catching fish because we had an event to go to. We weren't quite sure what it was, but it was very special, and the mayor, Richard Benville, really wanted us to be there, and we did make it in time.
So today when I say hello, since I see beautiful scenery, it's hello Central. I see someone walking down the street who perhaps is not with their usual significant other. It might be, oh, hello Central. Kids running to school where I worked for 25 years. Don't want them to fall on the ice. I don't want to say ass. And I don't want to say butt. So I say, don't run on the ice. You'll fall and break your hello Central. And they know exactly what I mean. So I was born in Jersey, and my ambition all my life was the theater. Dad got drafted when I was about 8 years old, so I grew up in the military. I was an Air Force brat. The only way to grow up, if you're a military brat, it's the best way to grow. Were you a military brat? You were nodding like, oh yeah. But it's really wonderful. I lived in Japan as a kid on the economy. I graduated from high school in England and got to travel all over the world, and those things are broadening. I graduated in '63 from high school. I came back to the States. We were just talking about Indianapolis. I went to school at Butler for a couple of years. Then I finally just said, no, I want to be a Broadway actor. Ethel Merman was my hero. I'm going to New York. And so I did. And as my mother used to say, you're cute. I was a little button, right? And with my little short hair, my blue eyes, and a big voice. You'll see, I got a big Ethel Merman type voice. I worked all the time. The phone never stopped ringing. I went from job to job, rarely auditioning because I was good. God had been kind to me. And I knew what I wanted. I think that was the biggest key. I was a good tap dancer, and tap dancing was having a renaissance. And so I was this hoofing kid. But I had a problem. And that's I drank. And I drank a lot. It cost me the career. What had taken me 15 years to get to, which was what I had wanted to do all my life, I, to use an expression, pissed away in just a couple of years. It was a very bad time, but it was also an important time. As I look back on it, friends and family, because the phone stopped ringing, I couldn't get work if I wanted. I was a mess. Drunk all the time, a relationship that I cherished ended, everything went to hell in a handcar. Just a spiral down. So I look back on it, friends and family did an intervention. Next thing I know, I'm on an airplane with a one-way ticket to Anchorage, Alaska, to visit my brother Bert, who ran Merrill Lynch's operation in the state. So now I'm in Alaska. Talk about your fish out of water. I mean, you couldn't be more a fish out of water than I was. And so Bert got me an appointment with a man named Alan Gallant, who was then president of Alaska Commercial Company down the street here. So he introduced me to Alan Gallant, who turned out to be Jewish and from New York. I could talk to the guy. He spoke the same language. How are you here? And at the end of our little meeting, he looked at me and he said, Benville, I like your style. He says, I got an opening in Point Barrow. They got 40 stores all over the state. He said, I got all of them off the road system. So he said, I got an opening in Point Barrow or an opening in Cordova. And I remember thinking to myself, probably real hungover, I remember thinking to myself, my God, I've come this far north to go south to some place that sounded vaguely Mexican, Cordova. What the hell was that? Barrow it was. I arrived in Barrow the 1st of February, 1982, 11 o'clock in the morning, the middle of the night, 40 degrees below zero, and the snow was blowing up. There I stood at the top of that Ween Air Alaska. Remember Ween Air? Ween Air Alaska jet with my camel hair wraparound coat, a three-piece suit, a tie, and a fedora like Indiana Jones. So as I looked at the terminal to find the Nupioc people of Barrow are wiping the steam off the window, looking at me as if to say, what the hell is that? I'm looking back at them going, oh, I've done it this time. So as I'm standing there, the tears and the laughter because I'm watching my life in front of me, and I kind of shut the book on New York, but not the theater. It's my life. It's been my performance. Has been my passion. I directed 30 plays and musicals here, and very kindly, then the people at the Arts Council threw a real big, good. That was a good party. That was a good party. Richard Benville Appreciation Day. It was like, but I wasn't dead, you know, because as I walked out, it was very nice, and all the people, a lot of people came from, you know, far and near to sing songs they had done in these shows. Theater's important. Not only is it fun and my passion, but it's important. It pulls people together. It became a source of a lot of community pride. And I'm very proud of that because I believe in the power of theater. So in any case, I'm a good guy. So in any case, I was in Barrow, and I wanted to move because I loved Barrow. I had a great time there. But yeah, I couldn't get out. I'm not Mr. Snow Machine. I'm not Mr. Four-Wheeler. I love it. I love Alaska. Where else in Alaska? My life changed so much for the better. I mean, I'm so proud to have it. I work with people with Joy, with Wendy, and around the state, and it's cool. And I'm the mayor of Nome. Isn't that cool? I'm the mayor of Nome, and I love that. So I get to do some traveling and represent Nome in all sorts of places. And it's going to happen. It's going to change Nome. It's going to change Western Alaska, and it's going to preserve the legacy for the people of Northern Alaska. I've been saying for a long time, keep looking north, Alaska. Yep. Augie does, Betty does, Tony does. We're beginning to more and more and more. And we're catching up with the rest of the world because I go to Norway, I go to Sweden, I'm going to Iceland and all those places. My takeaway is always the same. Those people in those countries are not looking at the future, they are in it. We are catching up. And we're part of that process to catch us up. It's another side of what I do. And it's perhaps the one I like best. And I'm performing, but it's song and dance. I love the music, I love theater and showbiz. So I'm gonna sing one for you. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. He said his name was Bojangles, and he danced a lick. Look out, old Mackie is back! Yeah!
Today I'm Joy Rose.
Oh, Joy Rose. I forgot that. Yeah, you are.
I'm just messing with you. She's been asleep so long that I don't even know if she remembers how to do this, but we're going to try. The biggest part of my style is, I'm from South Texas. Yeah, it won't be tough to figure that out here soon. The twang's tough to cover. Let's see, what do we start with? Busted flat in Baton Rouge, waiting for the train, feeling nearly faded past my dreams. I go out walking after midnight in the year of 92. With George Pratt's partner. I gotta stop and tell you something right here. Just because I think of George Pratt and I think of my favorite movie, and everybody knows what movie you're talking about.
North to Alaska.
Very good. Who's the main actor in the North to Alaska movie?
John Wayne.
Why he wrote North to Alaska, they're going north, the rush is on.
Bill Bailey, won't you please come? Bill Bailey, won't you please come? Hey Bailey, won't you please come home? And is there talent in Nome? Give me a break.
Good morning, America, how are you? Say, don't you know me? I'm your native son. Country road, take me home to the place I belong. Thank you. That was fun.
That was fun.
Yes, it was fun.
Hello, Central.
Thank you for everything.
Oh, later.
Yeah.
I won't be quite gone.
No.
Thank you for coming to Nome. Thanks for doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thanks for
My pleasure.
Really
We love
exciting
you.
experience.
We love you.
We probably didn't make too clear where we were headed before we got here. Mostly because we really weren't sure. We just got invited. But what you saw was a gathering of locals here in Nome at a gold resort called ACU. You can...
AKAU.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can put the story together on how they got the name.
This is... I don't know. This is what's special in particular about Alaska, because you find special people all over the world, people that you're better for having had the opportunity to meet them. The thing about Alaska is there is a greater density of them here. Alaska draws a really special kind of person a lot of times. Richard, you heard his story, ended up here very much by accident, but became a really incredible person and has had a tremendous impact on Nome. And what are the odds to come all the way to Nome and to have the opportunity to hear someone who performed at Radio City Hall sing for you? I can't tell you how many times things like this happen in Alaska. It's just a really special place, and reminded me of one of the things we really love about living here.
Okay, we got to show them this.
Yeah.
This is clearly one of their gold processing areas. I see, let me turn the wipers on, but there's high bankers over there, and you just feed the material in, and yeah, good times. I would love to come back here. This looks like so much fun. And so there's a few key things in life. When you go fishing, if there's no fish in the water, there's nothing to catch. Well, with gold, if there's no gold in the area, then you're not gonna find anything. And it really pays to get access to a gold claim. You know, we've had experiences in Chicken, Alaska, where you actually, you know, you pay a little bit of money, but you get access to a gold claim that produces gold, and that's what you're out here to do. Oh, you can see the permafrost over there too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We'll back up so we can see
I will.
that. Okay, there's the permafrost. You see the white in the dirt.
That's crazy stuff. And that permafrost is melting.
Mm-hmm.
These muskox just love hanging out around town.
You don't have deer crossing here, you have musk ox crossings.
All right, we're calling that a night. And fortunately, our room here at the Dredge number 7 has cable.
This one right here. This was my dream, my wish.
Morning.
Good morning.
How'd you sleep?
I slept well, but not long enough.
It's early today.
It's early today.
Well, it's our last day in Nome, guys. And it's time to share a rainy day with you. Yes, life along the Bering Sea. We have had the opportunity to eat a few meals out, but there's one place that has really stood above the crowd. Wouldn't you agree?
100%.
Exactly. And the name of the restaurant we are visiting is called Pingo Bakery and Seafood House.
Something that makes Pingo Bakery really special is the real food. So everything's made from scratch, but with a little bit of an Alaskan twist. So I wanted to be a little bit adventurous this morning. I saw on the menu a chef special of like you just whatever she wants to fix for the day. And so it ended up being an omelet with bacon and king crab and peppers and spinach and cheese. And then she makes all of her bread in-house.
And I got the half seafood omelet with king crab caught off the family's commercial fishing boat and a Belgian waffle with real maple syrup. Well, I'd say in the 21st century, the world needs more restaurants like that which means real people cooking real food with real ingredients that you can pronounce. And it tastes great, guys.
And you feel good after you eat it.
Yep. So this is also a very big day for the city of Nome on several levels. Wouldn't you say? We are coming up into the harbor again to share with you the very first tender bringing tourists and passengers from a Holland America cruise ship into the town of Nome. And there's a big welcoming committee over there by the dock. So we always like to share both sides of the coin in our videos, but it's big, but it also is a sign of the times, for better or worse. The better being tourism for a local economy
And other industries.
and other industries that will support the maritime industry. But on the flip side, it means the planet is warming up and there's more industry in the Arctic. These are very real issues, and I don't know, I'd much rather have sea ice and our polar bears and marine life and the villages here not being flooded over tourism and industry, but it is making the best out of the situation.
This morning we have the privilege of sharing Doug and Judy's story. They are the owners of the Dredge number 7 Inn, as well as the dredge that we went down and toured this week here in Nome.
I came up to visit my mother and father, and while I was visiting them, Doug's stepsister kept telling me about the handsome man at the mine. So I was like, okay, well, I want to go meet the handsome man at the mine. And so I did go meet the handsome man at the mine. He was my knight in shining rain gear that drove a dozer, how many miles?
12 miles.
12 miles to pull us out of a mud hole that we had fallen into, and the truck had actually sunk down so low we couldn't get the doors open. So we gave a message before we left. We call them hotlines here, and said, hey.
Local radio station messages.
Yeah, said, hey, if we're not there by a certain time, come save us. Well, he did. So in the middle of the night, he showed up in his rain gear running a dozer with a flashlight, found us in the dark and come and rescued us and pulled us into the mine, and I never left.
I was raised in Bellingham, Washington by Mount Baker on the Canadian border. And my dad, from 1960 up through the 60s, ran a dredge, an actual bucket line dredge up in the Cougar Rock. And
he's a third generation mining.
And so when we were raised, we came up to help him get it running. But it was an old wooden hull dredge, and it was just too far gone. So we stayed in town, got jobs, and went out and tried to we kept the claims and worked the claims on other methods. So I never left either.
There used to be a lot more mining in Nome. Of course, when the Alaska Gold was running and the big dredges were running, it was epic. And we didn't even realize it, but we were in the middle of it, and it was amazing. How the Dredge 7 Inn came to be is in Nome, we have 6 dredges. Now, when we first came here, they were working. You could hear the dredges squealing and squalling at night, and they're very loud when they're running. The big dredges. So there were 6 big dredges in Nome. So, and then the mining company moved to Fairbanks, and they made dredge number 8, which is a large tourist attraction up there. So there was never a dredge number 7. And so I went to the mining company and I said, hey, by default, I'm ending up in a little B&B here, and I wondered if I could name it Dredge 7 Inn. And they said, sure, go ahead, we're never gonna build a Dredge 7. So that's how it ended up. And so we had this extra space. It was a housing shortage here. There was a shortage. And Bering Air had just started flying people to Providenia and over to Russia. But when the weather was bad over there, they had no place to put them. So they would stealthily come in our driveway and have them get out, and then drive as fast as they can out of the driveway and go back to Bering Air and call me and say that people were at our place and they needed a place to stay. And we didn't even have beds. We just started welcoming people in, and people just started coming in, and it just went from one thing to another. And now we started with 3 rooms, and we're at 33 now. We've met so many people all over the world. So it's been great. And we have a passel of grandchildren raising up, so hopefully they'll come and help us.
There are occasional private jets that pass through, like one came from the Beijing Olympics straight to Nome. They spent the night, got gassed up, and went on to New York or wherever. So
and this
world travelers.
This year we've had probably 3 groups of people coming through that were doing around the world small airplane trips. And we even had around the world helicopter trips and done with young people, 18-year-olds.
18-year-old around the world by himself. Stayed here on his way through.
Yeah.
It's a gas station. Nome is for airplanes.
Last year we had how many sailboats that were going around the world? The big yacht sailboats that about 7 or 8 in our little small harbor and sit for the ice to move.
They gather here in the early summer, and then they go over the Northwest Passage and come out at Greenland and then Massachusetts and those places. And then at the same time, they're gathering in the North Atlantic, and the others come this way. So then in the fall time, we get those people come in and park for a few days and
they wait
get
for
the
the
groceries and go on to the Pacific.
They wait for the ice mass to move so they can go over the polar cap and not just sailboats. We've had yachts and everything coming up and going over. The Nome port is to be developed, and hopefully so we can handle bigger ships. The cruise ships are coming in, the smaller ones, but they're wanting to bring bigger ones in. So, Nome is a good place if you're going to visit to come visit soon, because it's going to start developing, I think, in a different way. Yeah. And it's something that, if you want really raw, undefined, amazing things to look at and to see and to do, and you're willing to go out and do it.
Yeah.
And we still have the uniqueness of roads that stop. You have to turn around and come back.
Mm-hmm. Alaska is, wild Alaska. They couldn't have said it better in Anchorage. People that are wanting to see wild. And when you come out to these places, by all means, rent a vehicle, go out and see and touch and do and fish and look at. Realize it is coastal. You might have some hazy days of moisture like we're having, but also brilliant sunshine and amazing things to see and do. But it does involve your action. Take your time, give yourself enough time to rest and to enjoy what's here. It's kind of a lot to cram into a small period of time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
we wish we'd stayed longer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, guys, that is a wrap from Nome, Alaska. Thanks for joining us on this little adventure.
Totally, and I cannot stress enough, this is a fantastic place to come. It's so easy to get to. You have all the modern conveniences when you get out here.
Yeah. Just call the Dredge 7, rent a Jeep, come out and have fun.
Have a good time.
So, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you down the road.